Okay. So that will be our first topic. Later on, we'll talk about general senses or somatic sensations. Okay. So we'll talk first about the introduction to sensation. Sensation simply being awareness of the changes, okay, happening in the environment that is affecting the body. Okay, so knowing what are the changes happening in the environment, that's sensation. So here are the learning objectives. So you must discuss the concepts governing the sensory system, the attributes of the sensory system. You must be able to differentiate the types of sensory receptors and types of sensations, the classification of sensory afferent neurons, and the different tests used to determine sensitivity to somatic stimulation. You must be able to discuss also adaptation observed in the sensory system. Now, sensation, okay, they are always utilizing the reflex arc. You remember the reflex arc, yung sensory receptor, sensory neurons, okay? Center, the efferent neurons, the effectors. But we'll only talk about the first three components of the reflex arc. Yung sensory receptor, sensory neurons, and the sensory areas of the higher center. Those are the ones involved in sensation. So the first structure, as mentioned, are the sensory receptors. They're also considered the body transducers. Because when they react to the different changes or stimuli present in the environment affecting the body, they will convert these different stimuli into electrical activities, action potentials. So they convert one form of energy into another form of energy, and usually electrical energy, action potential, because that is the language of the nervous system. So that the higher center can easily analyze the information transmitted to the higher center from the receptors, using the sensory afferent nerves. Remember, the sensory afferent nerves are the ones connected to the higher center. So utilizing the receptors, we are capable of knowing what are the changes happening in the environment, affecting the said receptors. And they will create action potential.
Doc, nawala po kayo?
Yes?
Doc, nag-cut off po yung audio niyo po.
Yung audio na-cut off?
Opo.
Wala? Okay.
Opo.
Ay, may problema. Hello? Okay. Ayan, okay na? Ay, sandali Okay. Ay, nako. Hello, narinig niyo ako? Hello?
Yes po.
Ayaw lang talaga meron na? Hello? Meron na sa screen niyo?
Wala pa.
Wala pa po.
Wala pa rin? Ano nangyari dito? Wait ha. Ayan guys, meron na?
Meron na
Hello?
po. Meron na po.
Ayan, thank you. Sorry ha. Naglolo ko yung aking server. Okay. So, as mentioned, the receptors are considered body transducers. So, they convert one form of energy into another form of energy. Usually, electrical energies, action potentials. O yun ang language ng nervous system. So, sila yung first structure affected by changes present in the environment, effectively affecting the body. Okay? The change could be inside or outside the body. Okay, once they affect the said receptors, the affected receptor will generate action potentials that are transmitted to the higher center utilizing the sensory afferent nerves. Okay, and these receptors, they have very low threshold for a certain type of stimulus. And usually we call that the adequate stimulus for the said receptor. When we say very low threshold, they're very sensitive to the said type of stimulus. And usually, yung classification ng receptors are based on their adequate stimulus. And because of that, they exhibit specificity. But although there is specificity, okay, certain receptors are capable of responding to another type of stimulus if the said other stimulus is affecting the receptor at a higher intensity. Okay, magre-react na rin yung receptor to the said stimulus even if it is not its adequate stimulus. Pag yung other stimulus, as mentioned, is affecting the receptor at a higher intensity. Pero kung mga threshold intensity, usually a receptor will only react immediately to its adequate stimulus. Kaya as mentioned, the receptors are basically identified or classified according to their adequate stimulus. Kaya pag sensitive sila sa chemical changes, we call them chemoreceptors. Pag sensitive sa mechanical changes, we refer to them as mechanoreceptors and so on. So there is such specificity observed in sensory receptors. But as mentioned, when exposed to higher stimulus intensity, they can react to other types of stimuli. Pag threshold, specific yan sila. Pag threshold, yung stimulus intensity. Okay? And the receptors can be part of a nerve, usually mga endings of a neuron. Or it could be a group of specialized cells functioning as receptors, capable of initiating generation of action potentials which are eventually transmitted to sensory neurons and then to the higher center for us to have sensation. But some of them can undergo adaptation. We'll talk about this mechanism later or condition later. Okay? So yung mga receptors as mentioned are classified according mostly to their adequate stimulus. Ayan sila, okay? Chemoreceptor, pain receptors, thermo, etc. The chemoreceptors, as the name implies, are sensitive to mechanical changes. Okay? Example, yung sa taste and smell. Okay? Ang pain receptors naman are sensitive to any stimuli that can cause tissue injury or tissue damage. And in here, okay, they are affected by stimuli that is of higher intensity. That can cause, as mentioned, injury to tissues. So we have mechanosensitive pain receptors, chemosensitive nociceptors. So they're affected by the said stimuli that can cause tissue injury. And usually they are of higher intensities. Okay? Meron din tayong thermosensitive nociceptors. Okay? Ma-activate yung thermosensitive nociceptors if the body is exposed to extremes of temperature. Pero kung moderate temperature lang ang changes, we affect thermoreceptors. Yung mga cold sensitive and warm sensitive thermo. Pag moderate yung change sa temperature. Pero extremes of temperature, very low and very high, we experience pain sensation. Okay, it will affect thermosensitive pain receptors. We have also that type of pain receptors. Tapos yung mga mechanoreceptors, so mechanical changes. Okay? So exemplified by these receptors. Ang photoreceptors, as the name implies, are sensitive to light. Presence of light. And naturally, they're present in the eyes. Okay? Sa retina. Then we have also receptors sensitive to changes in plasma tonicity. Pag may change sa plasma solute concentration, magre-react yung osmoreceptors. Okay? And the sensory receptors can also be classified according to their structure or morphology. we have simple receptors. Okay, so this type of receptors are usually endings of neurons, and they're not capsulated. So directly connected yan sa unmyelinated nerves. Okay, they're not capsulated. Directly connected, as mentioned, to unmyelinated neurons. And they're capable. You remember the type of conduction observed in unmyelinated neurons? Hindi na maalala? Yun ang continuous conduction. So yung mga simple receptors, so because they are attached to unmyelinated neurons, they're only capable of continuous conduction. What about the other types of receptors? We have capsulated receptors. Pag capsulated yan, we could refer to them as complex receptors. And they're also directly connected to their sensory neurons, which are myelinated. So capable yan ng saltatory conduction. So faster yung ability to transmit impulses. Another group of receptors are associated with special sensation. Yung mga vision, hearing, so on. Okay? And this type of receptors are naturally called special senses receptors. And they make use of specialized group of cells. Mga specialized cells yan. Okay? Involved sila sa special sensation. And they're not directly connected to their sensory neuron. They form a synapse, usually a chemical synapse. So they use neurotransmitter agents for them to activate their respective sensory neurons. May related din yan, ha? Okay? Pag mga special senses receptors. So these are the three types of receptors, sensory receptors based on morphology. Okay? And as mentioned, these structures are capable of generating action potential once effectively stimulated. What if the stimulus intensity is below threshold? Pag below threshold yan, it will create an electrical change that is not enough to reach the threshold potential or the critical firing level. You remember this type of electrical activity developed by a cell exposed to ineffective stimulus intensity, sub-threshold intensity. What do we call this electrical change?
Local potential.
Very good. Okay, local potential or local response. In a receptor, it could be called receptor potential. But it is commonly referred to as, what is the common term for local potential or receptor potential ng sensory receptors? Nakalimutan na. Generator potential. Okay? So, this is only a local response or a local potential. Therefore, it is not effectively transmitted. So, it will not reach the higher center. So, there will be no sensation because there was ineffective stimulation of the sensory receptor. But if the stimulation is effective, the intensity is equal to threshold or greater than threshold, we allow the sensory receptor, okay? Or we can observe the sensory receptor generating an electrical change capable of reaching the threshold potential. And eventually that will depolarize. And the sensory receptor, once they're effectively stimulated, even if they're exposed to a single effective stimulus intensity, they're capable of repetitive firing of action potentials. Okay? And as presented, the generated action potentials are of the same magnitude, all or none yan. Okay? Okay? But we observe increasing frequency of generation. What is the importance of that continuous firing ng action potentials? Remember, these action potentials are eventually transmitted to the higher center utilizing the sensory afferent nerves for us to have sensation. They are continuously fired by the effectively stimulated receptor so that we can have continuous awareness of the change affecting the body. So there will be continuous sensation. What will happen if we remove the stimulus? Okay, the receptor will eventually stop the firing of action potential and there will be no sensation. Kasi wala nang action potential. If you are again exposed to the same stimulus, the effectively stimulated receptor will again fire action potential continuously. As long as the stimulus is continuously affecting the body. So yung continuous firing is for us to have continuous awareness of the change affecting the body, continuous sensation. Okay? But remember, some of them can undergo adaptation. We'll talk about that later. Okay? So when receptors are activated, as mentioned, they will immediately transmit the action potential created to the sensory apparent nerves. And then the sensory apparent nerves will transmit the activity or action potentials to the higher center, the sensory areas of the higher center. And remember, when the action potentials are now generated by a neuron, okay, there are times we refer to them as nerve impulses. Okay? Transmitted na yan eventually to the sensory areas of the higher center. Initially, it will pass through the spinal cord and then to the brain. In sensory areas ng cortex. Okay? So, yan yung first three component ng reflex arc. And we also refer to these components as the sensory arm of the reflex arc. Because when they're activated, that leads to sensation or awareness of the change affecting the body. So any problem or conditions that might cause injury or damage to these first three components of the reflex arc, there will be absence of sensation. Okay? If we damage the sensory arm of the reflex arc. Because these are the structures. Okay? Essential so that a person can have sensation. Pag nasira yan, so there will be no sensation if we destroy these first three components. Okay? So as mentioned, once we are affected by these different stimuli present in the environment, okay, and the stimulus intensity is effective, equal to threshold or greater than threshold, it will effectively stimulate sensory receptors. They're respective, okay, sensory receptors. So remember, there is specificity, okay? And when that happens, the affected sensory receptor will eventually transmit the action potential to sensory neurons, okay, wherein it will eventually transmit the impulses to the higher center, initially utilizing the spinal cord. Okay, and when that happens, as mentioned, there will be sensation and perception of the change affecting the body. Once there is now sensation or perception of the change, what will be the next activity observed in the body? Once you now have sensation, para kayong hindi nakakaramdam, okay? So once we have sensation or perception of the change affecting the body, there will now be a response. And if you remember, the response will now involve the efferent pathway, yung efferent neurons and the effectors. We'll not talk about the response. Yan lang tayo sa sensations. Okay? Now, ang question, are all stimuli, okay, all effective stimuli affecting the body? Okay? Are they perceived by normal persons? Lahat ba? Yes or no lang?
No po.
No. Okay, no. Because some sensations are described as conscious. Other sensations are described as unconscious. When we say conscious sensation, so we are aware, okay, the said stimulus is affecting the body. Okay? Pag conscious sensation. So, okay, we are aware that the said change is affecting the body and we can feel the change. And we react to the said change. Yun ang conscious sensation. But some changes, okay, can happen or can affect sensory receptors in the body. But we don't feel, there is no sensation that the said change is happening. But there is a response. The body reacts to these changes. Pag conscious, di ba, it's easy to give examples. So yung mga touch, okay, pain sensations. What about unconscious? Can you give example of unconscious sensations wherein it is happening, affecting receptors, but there is no sensation? Okay.
Changes po sa blood pressure.
Okay, very good. So changes of blood pressure, changes in the level of certain chemical agents in the blood. For example, blood glucose, level of carbon dioxide, level of oxygen. But the body can react because they can effectively affect certain receptors present in the body. Diba yung sa blood pressure, yung baroreceptors. O changes ng glucose, di glucoreceptors. Okay? Di ba nagre-react sa hyperglycemia? Okay? We have that reaction, but we don't know it's happening. So yun ang mga unconscious sensations. yung changes sa level ng CO2 sa plasma that can affect chemoreceptors. We have a response. Okay? So the body reacts to the said changes. It affects effectively receptors, but we don't have sensation. Yun ang unconscious. Sensations can also be classified, okay, according to the location of stimulus. When we say exteroceptive, so the stimulus or stimuli are present in the external environment affecting the body. When we say interoceptive, the changes or the stimuli are happening, okay, or affecting receptors present inside the body. So it happens inside the body. Yung change. Like for example, abdominal distension o yung mga chest pain, okay? Urinary bladder distension o yung mga interoceptive. Okay? Pag exteroceptive, so from the outside, yung touch, pressure, presence of light, okay? Sounds. Okay? Sensation can also be classified, okay, whether they're epicritic or protopathic. Ito naman yung sa ability to localize. When we say the sensation is epicritic, these sensations are easily localized. Pag protopathic, they're poorly localized sensations. Pag epicritic sensations, these will usually involve changes or stimuli affecting receptors present in the skin. Kaya when somebody affects receptors present in the skin, for example, touch, even with eyes closed, you know specifically which part of the body is directly affected by the said touch stimulus. Okay? Basta apektado yung receptors present in the skin. So those are considered easily localized sensations. When we say protopathic sensations, mga poorly localized sensations yan. So usually affecting receptors present in the viscera. Okay? Kaya mga visceral stimulation, it's hard to specifically localize or accurately localize the visceral tissue affected by the said stimulus. For example, abdominal pain. We are not really sure which tissues in the abdomen is having the injury. We just experience a diffuse sensation, perceived happening in the abdominal area. Pero hindi ka sure. You are not sure which is what are the specific tissues having damage in the abdominal region, causing the abdominal sensation, yung pain sensation. So poorly localized yung mga yun. Basta visceral activities or visceral stimulation. So, poorly localized. Okay? Sensations can also be classified according to whether they are special or general. So when we say general, we can also refer to this sensation as somatic. So di ba yung special senses, yung sense of vision, vision, hindi touch, taste. Vision, taste, smell, equilibrium, mga special sensations nun. And when we refer to them as special sensations, naturally they also use sensory receptors. But they are considered special because the involved sensory receptors are only present in specific parts of the body. They are not present in any other body part. For example, vision. The receptors are only present in the eyes. There are no other parts of the body having photoreceptors. Yung hearing, the auditory receptors are only present in the ears. There are no other parts of the body having auditory receptors other than the ears. So that's the reason why they're called special sensations. Okay? Even in the reaction to effective stimulation. Some of them, they do not undergo depolarization when activated. Okay? Some of them, they undergo hyperpolarization when activated. Kaya mga special activities. O kaya sabi, special senses. What about general senses? Sa general senses or somatic sensations, they utilize receptors scattered, present in almost all parts of the body. So like for example, touch sensation. So we have receptors present affected by touch stimuli present in the head up to the toes. Head to foot yan. Okay? Pain sensation. Okay? Thermal sensation. So, scattered yung mga receptors involved in general senses. Kaya tinawag na general. Okay? And when activated, they simply undergo depolarization. Okay? Walang masyadong special sa kanilang activity. Okay? Now, other than this, we can also classify sensations as to whether they are immediately happening or immediately leading to sensation. Okay? Meron agad activity causing sensation. Iba naman delayed. We also call them chronic sensations. When we say the sensation is acute or rapidly perceived or immediately perceived, ayun ang mga acute sensation. Okay? The sensation or the perception happens in a second or less than a second upon exposure to the stimulus. Meron na agad sensation. When we say the sensation is delayed, the sensation or the perception of the change will happen a second after the exposure to the stimulation. Okay? So, yun lang ang difference nila. Pag acute, the sensation will happen, less than a second or a second, once you are exposed to the said effective stimulus. Yun lang ang time, less than a second or a second. Pag more than a second, before you can have the sensation, that is considered a delayed or a chronic sensation. And it could be a lingering sensation. It will take several minutes, even days. Okay? Ayan ang mga different types of sensation. Now, why is it that we can have either an acute or a chronic sense? Now, that is not because of the activity ng receptors. That is because of the activity ng sensory neurons. When we say the sensation is acute, the sensory receptor involved in the activity are connected with sensory neurons that are fast transmitting. Mga fast transmitting yun. So they can immediately transmit the activity or action potentials or nerve impulses to the higher center. So there will be immediate sensation. When we say delayed sensation, the receptors involved are utilizing slow transmitting neurons. So it will take a longer time, more than a second, to allow the impulses to reach the higher center, transmitted by the sensory neurons. So ang importante ron sa mga immediate or delayed sensation, yung activity ng sensory neurons. And remember, some sensory neurons are very fast. Pag very fast yan, yun ang involved sa acute or immediate sensations. And these are basically the type A alpha neuron and the type A neurons. And they are divided into 4 types or 4 subtypes. The type A alpha, type A beta, type A gamma, type A delta. And you have here the respective velocities. Ang fastest type A alpha. All of them are myelinated. Why is it that there is a slower transmitting type A neuron? Myelinated din naman yan. So what will explain the variation in velocities if all of them are myelinated? Hello? Ano mag-explain? Why is it that we have variation in the velocity? All of them are myelinated neurons. When we say type A neurons, all of them are myelinated. Why is it that there is a type A neuron that is very fast and a type A neuron that is quite slower?
Doc,
Okay.
is it because the neuron's larger so it's faster to...
Okay, very good. Okay, so differences in the diameter of the neuron. So the type A alpha are the fastest because they are the largest diameter. Okay, they have the largest diameter among the type A neurons. Ito yung largest diameter, myelinated type A neuron. Ang smallest ang diameter among the type A's, yung type A delta. Kaya slower ang kanyang velocity. So ito yung slowest among the type A's. Okay? Because of the diameter. Yung type A beta, type A gamma, moderate na yan. Okay? So other than these myelinated neurons, we have also unmyelinated neurons involved in transmitting impulses to the higher center. O ito yung mga type C. Sila yung slowest transmitting neurons. So the slowest is about 0.5 of a meter per second. Okay? O ito yung mga unmyelinated, small diameter sensory neurons or the smallest diameter sensory neurons. And they are unmyelinated. So they are not capable of saltatory conduction. Some students, they are asking, where is type B? Well, there is a type B neuron. But the type B neuron, yung type B, is not a sensory neuron. It is an autonomic nerve. So mostly an preganglionic neuron of the autonomic nervous system. And it is also myelinated. So fast transmitting din yan. Okay? Myelinated siya. But it is not a sensory nerve. So alis na natin. Okay? So the sensory neurons are only the type A and the type C. So ang involved sa mga acute or immediate sensations are the type A neurons. The type C, these are the ones associated with delayed or the chronic sensations. We can also classify sensory neurons based on their function and size or the diameter. Okay? And based on function and size, we classify neuron into different groups. And basically, yung group 1, which is further subdivided into group 1A and group 1B, are the type A alpha neurons. Ito yung type A alpha. So mga myelinated yan and mostly associated with activity of muscles. So they are connected to receptors present in the muscle and muscle spindle and the Golgi tendon organs. So concerned sila sa activity ng muscles or sa movements. And as mentioned, di ba, basically type A alpha yan. So sila yung largest ng diameter, mga 17 microns, 16 microns. Okay. So, other than group 1, we have also group 2 fibers. So, yan ang kanilang function. Involves sa fine touch, fine pressure, and also in muscular activities. They're also connected to muscle spindles. So, ang diameter niyan, moderate na yan. Okay? Moderate ang size. About 8 microns in diameter. Okay? About half ng diameter ng group 1 fibers or the type A alpha. Yung group 2 are basically type A beta. Type A beta yan. Yung group 2 fibers. So ang function niya associated with these sensations. Okay? Mga tactile sensation. Okay? Yung mga receptors sa skin. And also sa movement, the muscle spindle. Then we have the group 3. Okay? Ang group 3 are basically type A delta. So associated with these sensations. So present na sa screen nyo. Basahin nyo na lang. Okay? Crude touch, crude pressure, itch, pain, temperature. So these are myelinated. Type A delta yan. Pero yun nga, ito yung type A neurons with the smallest diameter. Among the type A's. Kasi yung small ang diameter. Okay? Or smallest among the type A's. Pero myelinated pa rin. So fast conducting pa rin yan. Okay? And another group are the group 4 neurons. And if you look at the activity or function ng group 4 neurons, almost similar to the function ng group 3. Okay? So basically, ang group 4 are the type C fibers. So mga unmyelinated yan. And having the smallest diameter among the sensory neurons. Siya na yung smallest ang diameter. Okay? Ito, smallest among the type A's. Ito, smallest among the sensory neurons. So sila na yung slowest transmitting kasi smallest diameter na among the sensory neurons and they are unmyelinated. So they are not capable of saltatory conduction. But take a look at the function. Identical with group 3. So the said sensations, yung crude touch, crude pressure, etc., or itch, pain, and temperature, they're always described as dual sensations. Or why are they described as dual senses or dual sensations? When we are affected by the said different stimuli causing the sensations, initially we can have an acute pain, acute pain, or acute itchiness, acute sensation ng change in temperature, utilizing the group 3 neurons. But because they can also affect the type C neurons, yung group 4, we'll have later on a chronic sensation. So mag-start siya ng acute sense, then later on followed by a chronic sense. An immediate and then delayed. So it's a dual sense. So pag dual sensation, that will involve group 3 and group 4, or the type A delta for the acute sensation, group 3, and for the delayed sensation, the group 4 neurons or type C. Kasi yung group 1, basically type A alpha yan. O mga fast sensation yan. Okay? Pag group 2, type A beta. Ang group 3, type A delta. Ang group 4, type C. So sa dual sensations, involving these different sensations, ayan, crude touch, crude pressure, itchiness, pain, temperature. Okay? Yung acute sense niya is involving type A delta neurons. Pag chronic sense, followed by a chronic sense or a delayed sense, that involves activity ng type C. Kaya identical yung function nila. Okay? Okay, yung type A delta, sabi myelinated, yung type C unmyelinated. Kaya yung type A, ang type A delta ang responsible for the acute sense. Ang type C ang responsible for the chronic sense or delayed sensation. Okay? And every receptor as presented is connected to the respective sensory neuron. It could be a ratio of 1:1 or several receptors to a single sensory neuron. Okay? Pwedeng 1:1. One receptor, one sensory nerve. Okay? Whatever is the ratio, okay? A receptor attached to its sensory neuron, that is called a sensory unit. And the sensory unit is the functional working unit of the nervous system. Okay, so for us to have normal sensation, diba, the receptors are the initial structures affected by changes present in the environment affecting the body. And for them to inform the center about the change affecting the body, they're normally connected to their sensory nerve. And it is the sensory nerve that will transmit effectively the impulses towards the center. Okay, so ito yung functional working unit ng nervous system. Okay. Ang functional unit niya, pag sinabing functional unit lang, it's the nerve. Pero pag working unit, it will involve the receptors. Okay? Okay? And for it to transmit impulses effectively to the brain, or the sensory areas of the cortex, the impulses transmitted by sensory neurons will enter first the spinal cord. And spinal cord, cross-section. And you still remember, if it is a sensory impulse or sensory impulses, they normally enter the dorsal portion of the cord. Diba? Ang point of entry ng mga sensory impulses, transmitted by sensory afferent neurons, it's the dorsal region of the cord. They will utilize the dorsal root and then enter the dorsal portion of the cord. It can transmit the impulses to the dorsal horn or to the dorsal column. Ito, sorry, walang label. Dorsal column ito, okay? Yan ang dorsal horn. So some impulses as presented can enter the dorsal column. Ayan. Some can enter the dorsal horn. Okay? You remember the law describing the function of the cord? Sabi, dorsal sensory, ventral motor. What is that law?
Bell-Magendie.
Okay, the Bell-Magendie law. Very good. So we'll only we'll talk about the function ng dorsal portion of the cord. And in the dorsal horn, we usually involve activation of these different laminae o yung rexed laminae, especially yung 1 to 5 for sensory activities. O yung 8 and 9, ayan, 8 and 9, ventral na yan. Okay? So that is involved in motor activities. So sa sensory, mostly 1 to 5 with little involvement ng 6 and 7. Mostly 1 to 5. So yan ang sa dorsal horn. Okay? Pag somatic sensations, we involve these regions of the spinal cord, the dorsal horn and the dorsal column. Okay? So if there is a dorsal cord injury, we will naturally expect problems with somatic sensations. Okay? General sensations ang problema. Okay? If the injury is mild, we can have these problems. Or the patient will complain of paresthesia. mga tingling sensation, prickling sensation, burning sensation, or a certain form of numbness. Okay? Yung tingling sensation, di ba? Or prickling sensation. In Tagalog, we call it tusok-tusok po sa mga advertisement, di ba? Sabi, tusok-tusok. Okay? What that will be the complaint ng patient. Okay? Seen also in okay, problems with afferent nerves. Okay? Kaya di ba sa binibigay na sa mga vitamin B complexes. Okay? To kay regain na normal activity ng neurons. Pero pag may injury sa dorsal dorsal cord, okay? Dorsal portion of the cord, okay, it's not enough just giving vitamin B complexes. Pag mga sensory afferent nerves, pwede, okay? If the injury is now moderate, and in the dorsal portion of the cord is having injury. We observe now, okay, diminution or diminished sensitivity to somatic stimulation. We call that hypesthesia or hypoesthesia. What if the injury is severe? So if there is total distraction nung dorsal region of the cord, involving the dorsal horn and the dorsal column, there will be absence of somatic sensation. We call that anesthesia. Okay, and the patient will complain of problems which could be ipsilateral or contralateral in the affected part ng spinal cord or the affected dermatome. So pwedeng ipsilateral ang complaint or contralateral. We'll talk about the reasons why later. Okay? So you remember the dermatome so that we can immediately know which part ng or level ng spinal cord is having a problem. If a patient complains of absence of sensation in a specific part of the body or heightened sensation, like for example dyan, sa level ng C3, so neck area yan, sa level ng T10, sa umbilical area yan, kaya pag may complaint sila, sensory problem, periumbilical, there could be a problem affecting the said segment ng spinal cord, thoracic 10. Okay? Sa anatomy naman, ipapamemorize sa inyo to. Okay? You must memorize the dermatomes. Okay? And this is a better representation ng dermatomes. Okay? Than this one. Ito medyo, it's difficult to determine what specific part of the body is affected or regulated different segments of the spinal cord. Ito much better. Okay? Madali yung makita yan sa neck region, C3. Okay? Okay? So, you must memorize this levels ng dermatomes. Okay? Clear now. Pag C3 sa thyroid cartilage, so sa neck area yan. C4 above the supra, sa sternal region, suprasternal nuts. Okay? T4 nipple area, T10 umbilical area. Okay? S1 sacral 1 sa foot, lateral aspect of the foot. Okay? And so on. Okay? So pag may problem ka, pag may problem ka sa umbilical area, so as mentioned, could be certain injuries or problem affecting level ng spinal cord sa T10. Pag sa small finger lang o sa C8. Pag sa thumb o C6. So pag may mga sensory problems yan. Okay? And eventually, the said impulses, when they are now effectively transmitted to the spinal cord, they are allowed to move up or ascend towards the brain. If it is a sensory impulse or the action potentials are associated with somatic stimulation, they're eventually transmitted to the parietal cortex. Okay? And what part of the parietal lobe? Yung postcentral gyrus. Specifically, Brodmann areas 312. Okay? In your neuroanatomy, you will know the different Brodmann areas. So yung involved sa somatic sensation, yan yung Brodmann areas 312. present at the postcentral gyrus ng parietal cortex or parietal lobe. So this is known also as the primary somatic sensory area or the somatic sensory area 1. Okay? Also referred to as the somesthetic cortex. And in the said part of the parietal lobe, we have representation of the different body parts having somatic sensory receptors. So, diba, yan yung mga different body parts. So, pag involved sa somatic sensations, the said receptors are mostly present underneath the skin. But some of them are present in the mucosa. Okay? Pero majority are present in the skin. And if the body part is having greater number of somatic receptors, they will have better representation or greater representation in the parietal lobe. And by the way, this body part representation in the parietal lobe, this is also known as the sensory homunculus. Okay? So as mentioned, the greater the number of somatic receptors in a body part, the greater is the amount of neurons devoted to represent the said body part. And as presented, there is a greater representation of face compared sa other body parts. So it simply means there are greater number of somatic receptors in the face compared to the other parts of the body. Okay? And some body parts are not represented. Look at the representation. Diba? There is no, there are no neurons representing the heart, the lungs, the kidneys. Okay? Mga visceral tissues yun. That explains why, it's very hard to localize. Somatic stimulation of the said body part. Kaya pag may mga cardiac problem, we only have chest pain. We cannot immediately determine which part of the heart is having problem. Is it the ventricle? Is it the atrium? Is it the right side of the heart or left side of the heart? Unlike if you have problems affecting the body part with greater representation in the sensory homunculus, like for example, the face. If you have a problem at the tip of the nose, even with eyes closed, you know, you have a certain somatic stimulus affecting the tip of the nose. Sa cheeks, sa forehead, di ba? Accurate yung localization. So epicritic sensations, easily localized if the body part is well represented in the sensory homunculus, because that body part is having greater number of somatic receptors. So epicritic sense yun. What if the body part is not well represented or having no representation? If it is affected by a somatic stimulus, it's hard to localize stimulation of the said body part. Kaya nga sa heart, sa kidneys, sa lungs, ang sensation diffuse. Mga protopathic senses. Sa face, di ba itong well represented, the face. In the face, ang best represented, it's the lips. Kaya ito yung most sensitive part ng body to somatic stimulation. Okay? So, tingnan nyo yung look at the representation na. It's random and the amount of neurons devoted to represent a body part is not the same. Kasi nga it depends on the density or concentration of receptors in the body part. The greater the amount of somatic receptors, the greater will be the representation. Pag lesser ang somatic receptors, lesser ang representation. Like for example, in the abdomen, tinan mo, yan lang yung area to represent the abdominal organs. And there are so many abdominal organs. So protopathic din ang sensation pag merong somatic stimulation ng abdominal tissues. Okay? Tapos in the parietal lobe, as mentioned, the impulses are eventually transmitted to Brodmann areas 312. So yun ang involved sa somatic sensation. And the activity ng Brodmann areas 312, divided yan. So yung Brodmann area 1 concerned mostly with cutaneous sensation or somatic stimulation ng skin. Pag Brodmann area 2 concerned now with position senses, also known as proprioception, yung body movement, so that we can determine the body position in relation to the environment. Okay? Ang mostly concerned doon, neurons present sa Brodmann area 2. Pag Brodmann area 3, concerned with both activities, yung cutaneous sensation and position senses. Okay? Pag Brodmann area 3. That will explain why the Brodmann area 3 is further subdivided into 3A and 3B. And as presented, ang 3A, yung 3A mostly concerned with deep sensory input sa mga proprioception. So it will help, okay, in the analysis ng mga proprioceptive impulses reaching Brodmann area 2. Di ba yan? Brodmann area 2, proprioception yan. So it is aided by Brodmann area 3A. Yung cutaneous sensation, di ba, activity yun ng Brodmann area 1. So, the activity ng Brodmann area 1 is aided by Brodmann area 3B. The analysis ng somatic impulses affecting mostly the receptors present in the skin. Okay? Kasi pag position senses, as a muscles yung mga yan, sa joints, the receptors are present in the muscle. Okay? O yung mga muscle spindle, the Golgi tendon organ. Okay? And also mga joint receptors, for us to determine the position of the body part. Okay? And other than the primary somatic sensory area, we have also a somatosensory association areas. And they're normally present at the posterior portion, posterior part ng somatic sensory area 1. Yung Brodmann areas 3, 1, 2. You can see the cursor, guys, right? Can you see the cursor? Hello?
Yes po.
Ayan, okay? So, yan ang Brodmann area 312. Post-central gyrus yan. Okay? Yung somatosensory association area, they're present posteriorly. Okay? So, yan yung Brodmann areas 5 and 7. Ayan, there. Okay? What is the importance of these other neural areas in the parietal cortex? They help the primary somatic sensory area 1 or Brodmann areas 312 in analyzing the different somatic impulses transmitted to Brodmann areas 312 to complete the analysis. Okay? Or the sensory impulses, Brodmann areas 5 and 7 will help in the analysis, so that we can somatic stimuli affecting the body. Okay? So it will combine the informations arriving from multiple points in Brodmann areas 312. Okay? Di ba yung 1, it is associated with a different type of sensation than Brodmann area 2. Tapos yung Brodmann area 3, combination. Di ba? Tutulong. Okay? In analyzing the impulses, somatic impulses, the somatic sensory association areas will help for us to appreciate better the somatic stimulus affecting the body. So it will receive signals naturally from the somatic sensory area 1, Brodmann areas 312, the somesthetic cortex, and also from other parts of the higher centers. Diba, when we are affected by a certain stimulus, a somatic stimulus, like for example, we are touching a ball, okay? When you are touching a ball, you are not just satisfied by just touching the ball. You will look at the ball or the object, and you will try to see if the said object is creating a sound. Okay, naapektuhan yung visual cortex, naapektuhan yung auditory cortex. Di ba, the visual cortex is the occipital lobe, the auditory cortex is the temporal lobe. So it can receive impulses from these other parts of the higher center. Even olfactory cortex can be affected when we are exposed to a certain somatic stimuli or stimulus. Okay? So the said other impulses coming from other parts of the cortex, okay, are received by Brodmann areas 5 and 7. Okay? It will help in the analysis ng said somatic impulses, okay, with contribution from other parts of the cortex for better appreciation of the said somatic stimulus affecting the body. Okay? So, if we now have problems affecting Brodmann areas 312, we cause injury to Brodmann areas 312, it will lead to absence of somatic sensation. Ito yung primary somatic sensory area. If it is injured or totally damaged, there will be absence of sensation. Okay? Except for chronic pain. Remember, the chronic pain will be retained. Even if there is total destruction ng primary somatic sensory area 1. What if the injury only affects Brodmann areas 5 and 7? Okay? Ang na-damage lang Brodmann areas 5 and 7. The somatic sensory association area. So the person will still have somatic sensation. Ang problem is accurately determining what is that somatic stimulus. Okay? So, yung specific determination ng somatic stimulus, it is not determined by the person having injury ng somatic sensory association area. Remember, it is the one capable of helping the primary somatic sensory area 1 for the final analysis ng somatic impulses received by the parietal lobe. And there is injury to the somatic sensory association areas. So they cannot finalize the analysis. So ang problem is accurately determining the type of somatic stimulus affecting the body. And it will usually affect the opposite side ng body. If you cause injury to the right parietal lobe, the problem is observed at the opposite side, left side ng body. Alam niyo naman yan sa neuroanatomy. The ascending impulses will undergo decussation or will be transmitted to the opposite side of the cortex. So yung somatic impulses from the left side ng body are transmitted to the right side ng cortex for analysis. So you cause injury to the right parietal lobe. So may problem sa activity ng receptors at the opposite side ng body. Okay? Makakaroon ng problem in sensation, opposite side ng body. So the disorder is called amorphosynthesis or somatic sensory agnosia. Okay, ang tawag dyan. Because ang injury affects the association area ng parietal cortex. So it's called agnosia. Pag ang injured, the somatic sensory area 1, the primary somatic sensory area, there will be absence of somatic sensation. In here, there is a presence of somatic sensation. Ang problem is determining exactly what is that somatic stimulus or what is specifically is the sensation. So ito yung mga symptoms. So sabi, contralateral neglect. So may neglect sa visual, auditory, and somesthetic stimulation on one side ng body or space. So contralateral side. Ang common problem affects the right side of the parietal cortex. So yung intraparietal sulcus and the right angular gyrus. Okay? Yan ang nagkakaroon ng injury. Usually. And that can lead also to defective sensation or perception. Okay? Contralateral side. Defective attention or orientation do sa environment. Okay? Also at the contralateral side. If you allow these persons to draw a certain image, papakopya mo yan. You allow the patient to draw these images. When they try to draw the said image or copy the said image, ang drawing nila will appear like this. So may neglect of one side. Okay? So yun sabi, contralateral neglect. Okay? So hindi lang mako-complete yung image. Ayan ang image. Okay? You allow them to draw the said image or picture. Merong contralateral neglect. So hindi mako-complete yung image or picture because of the damage to the posterior parietal cortex. Okay? But if the said areas of the higher center or said areas of the cortex are normal, we can immediately determine precisely the type of somatic stimulus affecting the body or stimuli. Okay? Upon exposure to the said stimulus, okay? There is immediate determination. So other than the type, the quality or modality of sensation, okay? Other than this, what other parameters are immediately known by a person once exposed to a certain somatic stimulus? So we can also know immediately the intensity of the somatic stimulus affecting the body. And also, we can immediately localize the body part directly affected by the stimulus. The said ability ng persons to accurately localize body part directly affected by the somatic stimulus, that is known as topognosis. Ang tawag doon na topognosis, yung precise localization ng body part directly affected by a somatic stimulus. Other than this, we can also know immediately the timing of stimulus application. Okay? Immediately know nyo na timing of stimulus application. Yung localization ng body part directly affected by the stimulus intensity, and the type or the quality or modality of stimulus affecting the body, leading to the said somatic sensation. Immediate yun, ha? Pero yung duration, itong duration, it is known after the removal of the stimulus. Not upon exposure to the somatic stimulus. Upon exposure to the somatic stimulus, what the parameters immediately known are the quality, the stimulus intensity, the location, the timing of stimulus application. Yung timing ng application ng stimulus. Okay? But the duration, it will be known after the removal of the stimulus, not upon exposure to the stimulus. Okay? So those are the different parameters known. Okay? If we have a normal sensory cortex sa parietal lobe, okay, the somatic sensations. Now, what will explain the ability to know the quality or modality of sensation? Why is it that upon exposure, we can immediately know, okay, the type of somatic stimulus affecting the body? So, we remember these laws or doctrines. Okay? So, we have the law of specific nerve energies. Remember, we have specificity observed in receptors. Diba? They have their respective stimulus. We call the adequate stimulus. Okay? But the specificity is not only seen in the receptors. Hindi lang sa receptors yun. Yung differential sensitivity or specificity. It is also observed in the higher center. Kaya as mentioned a while ago, if it is a somatic activity, we have increased activity ng parietal cortex. What if there is increased activity of the receptors present in the eyes? What part of the cortex will have greater activity? Where is the visual cortex? Hello? Wala pa kayo doon sa neuroanatomy? So it's at the occipital lobe, Brodmann area 17. Specific din yung activity ng cerebral cortex involved in analyzing visual impulses. Pag mga auditory impulses sa temporal lobe. Okay? And so on. You will know this different primary centers later on in your neuroanatomy. Okay? So the specificity is not only seen in the regional receptors but also in the higher center. Okay? Then the Mueller's doctrine describes only the specificity of the center. And the specificity is not only seen in the center and in the regional receptors, but also in the sensory afferent neurons. Regarding the specificity of the sensory afferent neurons, it is described by the labeled line principle. Kaya pag mga specific activity ng sensory neurons, so it is described by the labeled line principle. Pag sa center, the Mueller's doctrine and the law of specific nerve energies. Sensitivity or specificity ng receptors, the law of specific nerve energies. Okay? O yung labeled line principle, as mentioned, describes the specificity of the sensory neurons. O that will explain why when they transmit impulses to the higher center, they follow a specific pathway. for them to effectively communicate with the higher center. And the said pathway is properly labeled. And it forms a line from the receptor going to the brain. So it's a labeled line followed by the sensory apparent nerves when they transmit impulses to the cortex. So it is referred to as labeled line principle. So that will explain the presence of the specific sensory pathways for the different sensations ng body. So specific yan, mga merong auditory pathway, visual pathway, somatic pathways for the different parts ng body. Having different somatic receptors. You will know more of this in your anatomy. Another thing that can help determine the quality or modality ng stimulus or sensation is the coding mechanism. Okay? Ito yung labeled line principle o example. Ito for vision. So from the region ng photoreceptors in the eyes present in the retina, we have this specific pathway. Okay? A specific line. Sabi nila labeled yan. It's a labeled line. Followed by the impulses generated or action potentials generated in the retina. Eventually transmitted to the occipital lobe, the visual cortex. So you destroy any portion of the pathway, there will be problems with vision. Even if we have a normal eye. If you cause problems in the said visual pathway. So some of the impulses are transmitted ipsilateral. You observe the line. Ipsilateral, same side. From this side of ng eye, kung left eye yan, okay? Left eye, it will be transmitted to the left cortex. But some impulses ng left eye can be transmitted to the opposite side. Okay? So merong ipsilateral transmission, may contralateral transmission. Okay? You'll know more of this in your study ng vision. Okay? Pinapakita lang yung pathway. Specific yan. So tawag nila, okay? It is described by the labeled line principle. Sa coding mechanism, the ability to know the quality or modality ng sensation will depend on the manner ng action potential discharge. Okay? By a receptor that is effectively stimulated by its adequate stimulus. Okay? Another condition is variation in the number of sensory units activated. For us to know the quality or modality ng sensation affecting the body or quality of stimulus. So one mechanism is yung temporal pattern coding. In here, for us to know the quality or the type of stimulus affecting the body, the type of somatic stimulus affecting the body, it will rely on the pattern of neuronal activity or pattern of discharge ng action potentials. Okay? Initiated by the sensory receptor. Okay, so maganda example dito yung thermoreceptors. The thermoreceptors was affected by a temperature less than 30 degrees centigrade or 30 degrees Celsius. Ang activated receptor will fire action potential in burst. That will also be transmitted to the sensory nerve. And they will also fire action potential in the same manner. And that will be transmitted eventually to the cortex. If that is the manner of firing ng action potentials, the cortex will know the body is affected by a temperature less than 30 degrees. What if the thermoreceptors are affected by a temperature greater than 30 degrees? Yung activated receptor will fire action potential without burst. And that will also be seen in the sensory apparent nerve. Then transmitted to the center. Once received by the center, continuous lang ang firing ng neuron without any pauses or walang burst of action potentials. Okay? So the center will immediately know the body is affected by a temperature more than 30 degrees. Okay? So ito, pag temporal pattern, this will depend on the manner of discharge ng action potentials by the activated sensory units. Ibang sensory unit, the receptor plus the sensory neuron. Okay? Another one is the spatial or spatial pattern coding. This one is based on the variation in the number of sensory units activated. Di ba yung receptor plus its sensory neuron? So depends on the number of neurons or receptors activated or simply sensory units. Okay. One good example is the perception of color. When we observe a red-colored object, that is due only to activation of one group of receptors in the eye. Yung mga red sensitive, cone receptors. Di ba yung photoreceptors sa eyes, so two types yan rods and cones. The cones are the ones sensitive to color. And we have three groups of color sensitive cones. The red sensitive, the blue sensitive, and the green sensitive. So if we are seeing a red colored object, that means there is only activation of the red sensitive cone receptor. Okay. Isa lang siya. Red sensitive lang. What if we see a white colored object? Pag white colored object, there is simultaneous activation of the three color sensitive cones, yung red, green, blue. Okay? At equal degrees. Okay? Equal yung kanilang degree of stimulation. And there will be sensation of a white color. So yung sensation depends on the number of neurons or receptors activated or sensory units. That will also help determine the quality or modality of sensation or somatic stimulus affecting the body. Okay. What about intensity? Di ba, upon exposure to the stimulus, we can determine immediately if the stimulus is of low intensity, threshold lang, or greater than threshold, moderate or strong. Okay. So we now look at these laws. And the Weber-Fechner or Weber-Fechner law. They're saying that the magnitude of sensation felt is directly related to the logarithm of stimulus intensity based on this law. Okay? Yun namang power law, it is stating that the ability to know stimulus intensity, it is directly related to the frequency of action potential generated by the activated receptor. So direct ang relationship. The greater the intensity of stimulus affecting the body or affecting a somatic receptor, the greater will be the frequency of action potential discharged by the activated receptor. Okay. Another one that can help in determining stimulus intensity, yung variation sa number ng receptors or sensory units activated. Direct din ang relationship niyan. Pag ang body, ang receptor is exposed to higher intensity, a greater number of sensory units are activated. And there can even be recruitment of sensory units. Okay. So if that happens, greater number of receptors activated, so greater number of action potentials are received by the higher center. Okay. So parang ano lang, power law. The greater action potentials or greater frequency, that is analyzed by the center as higher intensity. So yung stimulus intensity, the determination of which is frequency modulated. Okay? Bakit frequency, not the magnitude of the action potential? Because as mentioned, yung magnitude ng action potential, it follows the all or none law. Di ba? Once generated, the action potential is always of maximum magnitude. The magnitude of the action potential will not vary when you change the stimulus intensity. Constant yun, lagi siyang maximum. So what can undergo variation is the frequency of firing ng action potential. Based on the power law, as mentioned, it is directly related. Regarding the Weber-Fechner or bago yung Weber-Fechner, yung pala mo ng number ng receptors or sensory units. Pag single sensory unit stimulated, that means the body is exposed to a weaker stimulus. Pag greater number, greater number ng sensory units, stronger ang stimulus niya. Pag higher pa or much stronger, we can observe recruitment of sensory units. So greater action potentials are received by the center. So it is perceived as stronger stimulus. Okay? Sa Weber-Fechner, sabi, di ba yung magnitude of sensation felt is directly related to the logarithm of stimulus intensity. Okay? Sabi yung graduation or gradation of stimulus strength are discriminated in proportion to the logarithm of stimulus intensity. And it is stating that as the initial stimulus increases, the ability to discriminate decreases. Okay? So example ito. When a person is carrying a 30-gram load, okay, it can only detect, okay, or it can easily detect additional 1 or 3 grams, okay, in the said existing load. Nag-add ka ng 1 gram or 3 grams load. It is immediately felt by the person carrying a 30-gram weight. You follow? Or what if the person is carrying a 300-gram weight? You add additional 1 gram. Can the person notice immediately the additional weight? Oh, yes or no lang? Oh.
No po.
Okay, so as explained by Weber-Fechner law. Oh, sabi, di ba, yung graduation or gradation ng stimulus strength, for us to know that there is a change in the degree of stimulation. Okay? It is proportional to the logarithm of stimulus intensity. As stated, as the initial stimulus increases, the ability to discriminate decreases. So kung lesser lang ang weight, additional lesser load is immediately perceived by the involved person. What if it is a greater weight, 300-gram weight, o 1 kilo na, mag-add ka ng 1 gram. So it is not felt. Because when the initial stimulus increases, the ability to discriminate decreases. Okay? So for us to know that there is an additional increase, if we are carrying a heavier load, we must apply a greater or apply a greater increase. Okay? O hindi lang 1 gram or 3 grams. Kaya pag 300 grams, mag-apply ka ng additional 30 grams. So dapat mga 10% or more yung additional increase for us to know that there is a change in the existing load. Okay? Pag mga sensitive person, kaya nilang i-determine. A sensitive person carrying weights, they can determine a change o mga additional na 10% or more. Okay? Or a reduction ng 10% of the original weight. Pag ang person is not used to carrying weights, kailangan almost 50% nung initial stimulus intensity. Kaya iba, pag hindi ka sanay, if you are not used to carrying weights, you are carrying a 300-gram weight, you're not capable of knowing pag meron ding 30-gram additional weight. Kailangan mga 100 o 150 ang additional. Okay? Close to 1/2 of the initial stimulus intensity. Pero pag sensitive ka, okay, 10% additional or 10% reduction, you will notice the change. Okay? Kaya nga they are saying, 1 peso makes a great difference to 10 peso na amount ng money. Pero pag 100 na, negligible na yung 1 peso. Lalo pag 1,000. Okay? As explained by Weber-Fechner law or Weber-Fechner law. Ito naman yung power law. Sabi yung relationship ng action potential discharge and stimulus strength is not linear. It is described as a power relationship. And as mentioned, in the power law, it is describing the direct relationship between frequency of action potential discharge and stimulus intensity. Kaya pag lesser yung frequency, that means the body is affected by a weaker stimulus. Pag greater frequency, we are affected by a stronger stimulus. So hindi siya linear. Kasi pag linear yan, straight diagonal line. Ay nag-curve. Sabi nila, it's a power relationship. Okay? Tapos another parameter determined other than intensity, yung location. And in a normal person, as mentioned, there is precise localization ng body part directly affected by the stimulus. What do we call again this ability ng person? Yung the ability of a normal person to precisely localize or accurately localize body part stimulated is known as
Topognosis.
Topognosis. Very good. Ayan. Kaya sinabi ko naman yan kanina. Okay? Topognosis. And the ability to localize is aided by these different parameters. Ayan. So yung law of projection, the size of the receptive field or size of the area ng stimulation ng sensory units and the lateral inhibition mechanism. May improve yan yung ability to localize. Okay? So, what is essential sa topognosis? Yung sensory homunculus. As mentioned, di ba, in the parietal lobe, the different body parts are having representation. Pag greater yung number ng somatic receptors, mas greater or best represented yung said body part. In here nga yung face. Sa face, yung lips. Kaya pag nag-stimulate tayo ng lips or even with eyes closed, we'll know immediately which part of the lip is being affected. Kung left side yon, right side, middle part ng lip, okay? Kung sa upper lip yon, kung sa lower lip, okay? Kahit mga pointed stimulus applied on the lips, okay? Precise yung localization nun. Because it is best represented in the sensory homunculus. Pero pag may problem ka sa lungs, it's hard to know which part of the lung is having the somatic activity. Di ba? Kasi walang representation yun. Sa kidneys, sa heart. Okay? Kaya walang nagko-complain na, Dok, tinan mo, ang sakit ng atrium ko. Okay? Hindi niya masabi na, ang sakit ng left ventricle ko. Basta ano lang, chest pain. Okay? Pero pag sa skin, you know which part of the skin is having tissue injury. Specific yun. Okay? Kung sa fingers, alam mo kung which finger, the ring finger, the index finger, the ring finger, the middle finger, the small finger. Okay? Specific. Kasi it is having better representation in the sensory homunculus. So that will also help in the topognotic ability. Okay? Okay? Sa parietal lobe yan, di ba? Okay? Tapos ito, you remember this theory. Mas nag-improve yung representation ng body part sa parietal cortex. If the body part is always utilized by the person. Okay? Okay, mga athletes, nag-improve yung representation ng kanilang extremities. Okay? Sa sensory homunculus. Okay? Kasi hindi lang naman motor ang ina-improve nila doon, pati sensation. Okay? Okay? And the body or the neurons are capable of changing their activities. Okay? Merong capacity ang neurons to change their connections and functions in response to new information and sensory stimulation, leading to better development of the neuron. Kaya nga pag frequently utilize yung body part, nag-improve yung activity ng neurons representing the said body part based on the theory of Lamarck. Kasi ang neurons are capable of changing their activities. Yan ang plasticity. Okay? Exemplified by long-term potentiation. Sa neuronal plasticity, ito example, di kayo, students, okay? Diba? Because of learning, experience, and memory. Okay? Diba, improve na memory nyo ngayon. Nag-change yung activity ng iyong brain. Yan ang activity-dependent plasticity. So, you undergo maturation. Okay? Di ba mas mature ka ngayon compared nung elementary sa high school? So, you are now having a different activity kaysa nung bata ka. Okay? You follow? Yan ang activity-dependent plasticity sa nervous system. Especially sa brain. Now, the brain can also have another form of plasticity if it suffers from injury. Okay? Ito naman yung reactive plasticity. It can change its function also when there is damage to a certain part ng CNS. Okay? Kaya mga normal person na initially or normally they are capable of seeing, normal ang vision. They suffer from injury affecting na eyes. That leads to blindness. What will happen to the visual cortex? The visual cortex, because there are no more function ng eyes, will perform a different activity. It will now help in the activity ng audition sa somatic sensation. That will explain why blind person are sensitive to touch, sensitive to sounds. Kasi yung visual cortex will change its activity. Yan ang reactive plasticity. Okay? Nagkakaroon ng damage. Okay? Kaya sabi yung brain has the remarkable capacity to reorganize neural pathways, create new neurons. Di ba? Meron mga nerve growth factors. And also, create new synapses. O, ito na-recall nyo? What are the proteins involved allowing neurons to form new synapses? Hello? Anong proteins para mag-form ng mga new synapse? Nakalimutan na. Neurexins and neuroligins. You remember? Ayaw pa rin sumagot. Sinabi ko na. Na-recall nyo na. Ha? Yung mga neurexins and neuroligins present in the presynaptic and postsynaptic part of a nerve. For them to form new synapses. Okay? Ayaw naman sumagot. Naalala nyo na?
Wipe up.
Yung neurexins and neuroligins. Pag neurogenesis, yung mga nerve growth factors, yung mga neurotropic agents. Okay? Oo. Kaya nagkaroon ng alteration sa function and behavior of the person. Kaya nga sabi, our brains change with time and experience. Okay? Kasi ito pa, that it can also help in localization. Sa law of projection. Sabi, no matter where a particular sensory pathway is stimulated along its course to the higher center, ang sensation produced is referred to the location ng sensory receptors using the activated sensory pathway. Okay? Ito, para madali. Basahin mo, medyo mahirap eh. Okay? So, this is the sensory pathway ng touch receptors in the hand. Okay? Medial aspect ng hand yan. Small finger and ring finger. Okay? When you stimulate any part of the pathway, ayan, from the cortex or neurons before the thalamus or after the spinal cord or in the spinal cord or the afferent neurons, ayan, okay? Mga sensory neurons yan, transmitting impulses to the cord, okay? Nag-stimulate ka sa cortex. Ang sensation ng person still at the area ng receptors utilizing that part of the cortex stimulated. You stimulated this neuron. That will transmit impulses to that part of the cortex representing the hand. Ang sensation dyan pa rin. The sensation will still be at the site of receptors utilizing the sensory pathway. It stimulated the part immediately after the spinal cord going to the brainstem and then the thalamus. Diba? The sensation will still be at the site of receptors. Any part, kahit dyan sa sensory neuron, ang sensation will still be at the site of receptors. Yan ang sinasabi ni sa law of projection. So stimulation anywhere along the sensory pathway can lead to sensation of somatic stimulation sa site ng receptors utilizing the sensory pathway. That can also help in localization. Okay? Ito, another good example nung condition that involves the law of projection. Ito yung mga accidental amputation of a body part. Ayan. Okay? So sa accidental amputation of a body part, napabilis ang pindot, sorry. Okay? Sa accidental removal of a body part, when you encounter these patients in the emergency room and you talk to these patients, they will complain of pain in the missing body part. Nagko-complain sila sa missing body part. What will explain the said sensation? The body part is already missing, but they are complaining of pain in the said missing body part. Anong reason? So, it is because at the site of injury, yung site ng amputation, di sa wrist area, natanggal yung hand eh. Okay? In that part ng injury, you have there the sensory neurons utilized by receptors present in the hand. When exposed to the environment and their excitable structures, they will generate action potentials and generate action potentials at higher frequency. Kasi sensitive sila sa mga exposure sa somatic stimuli present in the external environment. Kasi normally yan, not exposed to the external environment. Di ba naka-close yan? O na-expose sa external environment, there will be greater stimulation of the sensory neurons. And they will transmit impulses to the center. And what will be the analysis of the center? And they are sensory neurons utilized by receptors in the hand. So the higher center will think, there is greater activity, okay, or increased somatic stimulation of the somatic receptors in the hand, leading to pain sensation. O yan ang phantom limb pain. They complain of pain in a missing body part. So ghost pain. Okay? Well, that is also explained by law of projection. Because of the stimulation ng external somatic stimuli of the exposed sensory neurons utilized by somatic receptors in the hand. Okay? So law of projection din yan. Another thing that can help in localization, yung size of the receptive field ng sensory unit. Ito yung area for stimulation ng mga sensory units. If the sensory receptors are present superficially, very close to the skin, wala sila sa hypodermis, nasa upper part o closer to the skin, they have a smaller receptive field. Pag close sa epidermis, smaller ang receptive field niyan, and that will lead to better localization. More accurate epicretic sensation. What if the receptor is located deeper, nasa lower portion, nasa dermis? They have a bigger receptive field, and it can lead to poor localization. Ang sensation kasi magiging diffuse. Pag smaller ang receptive field, localize ka sa site ng sensory units. Pag ang sensory units, bigger ang receptive field, diffuse ang sensation. So, poor ang localization. Kaya mas better pag we affect sensory receptors with smaller receptive field for a more precise, more accurate localization ng body part stimulated. Okay? Another thing that can help in localization, yung lateral inhibition mechanism. So, ganito lang naman yan. When the skin is affected by a pointed stimulus, in the initial stimulation, we'll have a part ng skin directly affected by the stimulus having greater activity, and the adjacent areas having lesser activity. Pag greater ang activity niyan, so they will generate action potentials at a higher frequency compared to the adjacent areas. So lesser ang frequency ng action potential generated sa lateral regions ng stimulation. So indirectly affected, yun ang stimulated most. So when that happens, we have continuous generation of impulses, di ba? Action potentials yan . When the receptors are activated, they fire continuously action potentials. Pero ang na-observe, once you now have activation ng mga sensory neurons, the greatly activated sensory neurons will transmit inhibitory impulses to the adjacent neurons. May inhibit kayo yung adjacent neurons. And eventually, they will stop. Ang continuous ang activity, yung markedly stimulated sensory afferent nerves, continuously transmitting to the higher center. And these impulses are transmitted to the sensory homunculus, representing this part of the skin directly affected by the stimulus. So even with eyes closed, we're capable of knowing precisely where is this part of the skin directly affected by the said stimulus. Kahit nakasara yung mata. Later on, they changed the name from lateral inhibition kasi you inhibit the lateral regions. Later on, they changed the name to, and as mentioned, it can facilitate localization. As mentioned, they changed the name later on to surround inhibition. Pinalitan, ginawang surround inhibition. Okay? So, anong nangyayari lang ganito? Okay? So initially, pag nag-stimulate tayo, merong area na markedly stimulated. Yung adjacent areas inhibited. So before they call it lateral, tas later on they make it surround inhibition. Because everything, all receptors surrounding the maximally stimulated receptors are observed to decrease their activity. Kaya surround inhibition, hindi lang lateral. Tas the decreased activity ng surrounding receptors can also lead to decreased activity ng sensory neurons. Pati mga sensory neurons, so may inhibit yung sensory units eventually. Later on, from lateral, di ba sabi, they change it to surround. Now they call the activity local feedback inhibition if happening at the sensory units. yung receptor and sensory neurons. They call it now local feedback inhibition. Nag-umpisa lateral tapos surround. Ngayon, local feedback inhibition. And the said activity, can be observed even up to the cortex. Kasi nag-stop na activity ng lateral neurons So in the cortical neuron, yung part ng parietal lobe affected, representing this part ng skin, directly affected by the stimulus. Meron siyang increased activity surrounded by areas of lesser activity or inhibition. So parang meron kang island sa cortex. And this area ng increased activity sa cortex represent this body part or this part ng skin directly affected by the stimulus. Okay? So the said inhibition or lateral inhibition mechanism is observed up to the cortex. Pag sa cortex na, they call it distal feedback inhibition. Okay? So nag-change na ng name. Okay? From lateral to surround inhibition to local feedback and distal feedback inhibition. And that will enhance localization. Okay? So we can localize the body part directly affected even with eyes closed. Okay? Kasi ano makaka-apekto ng sensitivity? Siyempre yung capacity ng sensory arm. Dapat normal. If you have injury affecting the sensory arm, there will be problems with sensation and problems with sensitivity. Another factor that can affect is the previous experience to the said somatic stimulus. Whether the experience is pleasant or unpleasant. Di ba? Kung na-expose ka sa said somatic stimulus and that leads to tissue injury and you suffer from pain. The next time around, you're exposed again to the same stimulus. Di ba? You will avoid the said stimulus because before, you know it can cause pain. So, naging sensitive ka na. Hindi ka pa nagagalaw ng stimulus o nagre-react ka na. Okay? Because you know already the effect of the said stimulus once it affects the body. So, also if the effect is pleasant, okay? So, you will again try to come into contact with the said stimulus. Kung pleasant yung experience. Pag unpleasant, you avoid exposing your body again to the said same stimulus. So that will also affect sensitivity. Yung attitude ng subject towards the sensory experience. Okay? As yung mga test for sensitivity, ayan. So we can do 2-point discrimination and we'll determine the 2-point threshold. We can also do stereognosis and graphesthesia. Sa 2-point threshold, okay, papakita ko naman pala. Okay? In this test, the subject should always be blindfolded or the eyes are closed. The 2-point discrimination, we are after the 2-point threshold. The minimum distance at which 2 points of touch can be perceived as separate. Yun ang 2-point threshold. Okay? So, ang procedure yan. So, you will stimulate a certain body part. Okay? Pwede sa finger, pwede any part ng body. If you want to know the sensitivity of the body part to somatic stimulation. Dapat eyes closed. Ayan. Perform the test with the patient's eyes closed. Tapos, hold the patient's index finger. Ang tines yung finger, index finger. And apply the 2 test object points to the fingertip. And then ask the patient to determine if there is sensation of 1 or 2 stimuli. Then determine the minimum distance at which 2 points are felt as separate. Okay? Then you repeat the procedure or examination 3 to 5 times. And get your average result to obtain the minimum distance, wherein the 2 points are perceived as separate points by the subject. Okay? Wag lang single examination. Kailangan you perform several, at least 3 or 5. Then get the average or minimum distance. Ito yung mga 2-point discriminators. Ayan, okay? Meron yung baseline, meron yung disc rotate. And also the esthetiometer. Okay? Pwede mag-spell ng ES, pwedeng AES. That can help determine the exact distance wherein the 2 points are perceived as separate. Okay? Kasi ang manner ng stimulation, it should be this manner. Kailangan, we should activate 2 adjacent separate sensory units. Yun ang affected ng 2 points. for the subject to perceive 2 points as separate points. Kukunin mo yung minimum distance wherein the 2 points are perceived as 2. So kailangan 2 separate sensory units for us to have sensation of 2 points. Diba, you will try to vary the distance ng 2-point discriminator. Okay? When you vary the distance and you make the distance very close to each other, okay, it can happen na you can only activate a single sensory unit. If you allow the 2-point discriminator to be very close to each other, you can reach a point wherein the 2 points can only affect a single sensory unit. Or the person being tested will perceive only a single point. O perception lang yan ng 1 point of touch, even if they're affected by 2 points. Kasi you're only affecting a single sensory unit. Kaya nga, di ba, you will vary the distance of the discriminator until you eventually reach this condition. You are activating 2 separate sensory units, adjacent to each other, and there will be perception of 2 points. So you get the minimum distance, wherein the 2 points are perceived as 2. Okay? And what is the relationship of the 2-point threshold to sensitivity? Diba, we are after sensitivity. So anong relationship ng 2-point threshold to sensitivity of the tested body part? Inverse, the greater the 2-point threshold, the lesser the sensitivity. The lesser the 2-point threshold, the greater the sensitivity. Di ba ang most sensitive, best represented sa sensory homunculus, the lips. Look at the 2-point threshold, 1 millimeter. Yung other body parts having greater 2-point threshold, 48, 46, 42, lesser ang sensitivity niya. Kaya yung 2-point threshold, yung minimum distance, wherein we can detect sensitivity of a person to somatic stimulation or a body part to somatic stimulation. That will depend on receptor densities on the body part. So the greater the number of receptors, the lesser will be the 2-point threshold. So the more sensitive the said body part is to somatic stimulation. Okay? Kasi stereognosis naman, ito yung ability to identify objects by means of touch without the aid of vision. Kaya if you are doing this test, blindfolded ulit ang subject. Okay? Or you allow a subject to hold on to a certain object and identify the object by means of touch or palpation without the aid of vision. One major factor that can affect this type of examination is the familiarity of the subject to the object. If the subject is familiar to the object, they can easily identify the object by means of touch. But if they are not familiar, they will have difficulty identifying the object immediately. If there is no immediate identification of the object, ask the subject to describe the characteristic of the object. If the characteristic of the object, it was described correctly by the subject, that is still normal stereognosis, even if there is no correct identification of the object. Pero describe yung characteristic by palpation, normal stereognosis din. Ito, stereognosis din yan. Okay? Knowing the person holding your hand by just touching the person's hand. Okay? Stereognosis din yan. Okay? That's another examination, yung graphesthesia. In here, you simply scribble or write. Kahit wala ng ink, letters or numbers on the patient's tested body part. Ito, ang tinitest yung palmar surface ng hand. With eyes closed, a normal person, a sensitive person, can immediately determine what is the scribbled number or letter on the tested body part. Mga sensitive sila. Okay? Ayan. If you touch the palmar surface ng hand, alam niya kung middle part yan, kung lateral medial part ng hand, o what finger was affected. Okay? The said receptors, as mentioned, in the initial part ng lecture, di ba, they can adapt or they can undergo desensitization. Based on this ability ng receptors to adapt, we can classify receptors into fast adapting, slow adapting, non-adapting. Yung slow adapting sa non-adapting, they're also known as tonic. Yung fast adapting, phasic. Yung mga fast adapting, they can adapt within seconds. Okay? Up to several minutes. Pag non-adapting, several minutes to days to even weeks. Pag non-adapting, they continuously fire action potential. Kasi when receptors, they undergo adaptation, upon the initial exposure to their adequate stimulus, the affected sensory receptor capable of adaptation will fire action potentials at a high frequency. And then gradually, or in some cases, immediately decreases the firing and then stop the firing of action potentials, even if they're still exposed to their adequate stimulus. Or when they stop the firing of action potentials, that will lead to absence of sensation. Or that means it has undergone adaptation. O yung iba, very fast, within seconds or a few minutes. Pag slow adapting, it will take several minutes to days or even weeks for them to decrease the frequency of action potential and eventually stop the firing. Okay? Pag nag-stop na ng firing, fully adapted na yon. And there will be absence of sensation. O yung iba, continuous ang firing, non-adapting. Okay? So continuous ang sensation. So pag mga fast adapting, and mga other names, they're essential for these conditions. Okay? So they detect time of stimulus application and removal. They can detect dynamic qualities of stimulus. Yung on and off, exposure to a certain somatic stimulus. Ito rapid and decline. They show a rapid decline in the frequency of action potential generation with time. In less than a second, mag-stop na yan. Okay? Yung iba, a few minutes. Kaya it's difficult to detect stimulation of long duration if we are affecting fast or rapidly adapting receptors. Okay? Tapos pag mga slow adapting, non-adapting, okay? Ang mga tonic receptors. Okay? Ito naman ang characteristic nila. Ayan, okay? So they can generate action potential repetitively for long duration. O yun yung mga slow adapting. Pag non-adapting, even up to the end of prolonged stimulation. So hanggang sa end ng stimulation. So kaya nga non-adapting. They keep on firing action potentials. Repetitive yun. Kaya continuous ang sensation pag non-adapting. Sorry. Pag slow adapting, it will take several days or even months for them to eventually stop the firing of action potentials. Kaya yung mga non-adapting, tumatagal yan ng years. Kaya they detect steady stimulus. So doon sila sa static qualities. So in here, we can easily determine the duration of the said stimulus affecting the body. Di ba mga non-adapting, ang best example nito pain receptors. Kaya if you ask a patient suffering from the said condition, yung mga painful conditions, gaano katagal na ho yan? How long have you been suffering from the said condition? Di ba they can easily say, ay matagal na ho ito, almost a year na ito. O iba, 2 years na ho. They can immediately know the duration. Kasi continuous ang firing, continuous ang sensation. Okay? Ayan mga example ng mga fast adapting. Ayan pasinyan yan. Hair end organs. Tignan mo, 1 second lang nag-stop na ng firing. Pero upon exposure, rapid ang firing yan. 250 action potentials per minute or per second, sorry. Per second. Tapos biglang mag-stop. Pag nag-stop na yan, there is no more a sensation because they stop the firing of action potentials that should be generated and be transmitted to the higher center. So, hindi na matransmit sa higher center. So, wala na sensation. Kaya yung mga females, when they put something on their hair, di ba, in less than a second, there will be absence of sensation. Ito mga joint capsule, muscle spindle, it will take several minutes. Kaya mga tonic receptors yan, slow to adapt. They're involved in proprioception. O yung mga hair and organ, rapidly adapting receptors yan, together with the pacinian, basic receptors. Tapos pag nag-a-adapt sila, pwede mo makita itong mga conditions na to. They can change their shape or change in the chemical agents used in the activity or change the concentration or amount ng chemical agents used for their activity. In certain cases, we see changes sa sensory nerve fiber. So may inactivate yung voltage-gated sodium channel. So there will be no depolarization. They will also stop the firing of action potentials, leading to cessation of sensation. Okay? Ito, sa readjustment ng shape. Ito yung maganda example. Ang best example, pasinyan. Pag na-stimulate mo yan, ng touch o pressure, it will lead to a change in the shape ng pasinyan, causing pressure changes inside the capsulated receptor. The said pressure changes affects the receptor and it will generate action potentials, telling us the time the stimulus was applied. But after some time or in less than a second, mag-stop na ng firing yan. Okay? I-accommodate niya na yung change. Inside the capsulated pasinyan receptor. Pag na-accommodate niya na yung mga changes, mag-stop na ng firing action potential. Mag-stop na ng firing ng action potentials. It has now undergone adaptation. Once we remove the stimulus, the pasinyan will return to its normal shape. It will create again changes inside the pasinyan corpuscle. It will again generate action potential, telling us when the stimulus was removed. Kaya special ang mga phasic receptors for us to know the time of stimulus application and the time of removal. It will be very hard for us to know the exact duration of stimulus application. Stimulus affecting the said receptor. Ang duration mahirap kasi nag-a-adapt. Fast ang adaptation. Okay? Ito naman sa changes ng chemical agents. Ito sa concentration. So mga photoreceptors in the eye. Pag sa presence yung light, magdi-decrease ang rhodopsin. Mag-i-increase yung retinal. Okay? Most of the rhodopsin has been reduced to retinal. So magdi-decrease ang rhodopsin. In dark condition, retinal is converted back to rhodopsin. Increase na naman yung rhodopsin sa dark adaptation. So changes, do sa chemical, sa concentration ng chemical agents used for the activity. Ang reason for adaptation. And the eyes to adapt sa presence or absence of light. It will also involve activity ng pupils. Di ba nagda-dilate, nagko-constrict ang pupil. Nagko-contribute din yun sa dark and light adaptation. Now, another type of change observed, not in the receptor. It happens in the nerve fiber. Okay? So yung receptor will still keep on firing action potentials. But the said action potentials are not anymore transmitted by the nerve fiber to the center, leading also to absence of sensation. That means you see the sensory unit undergoing adaptation. Now, what is the importance? Especially nung fast adapting. So this is to allow the brain to have some periods of rest. Okay? Kasi di ba nag-stop na ng firing ng action potentials, yung sensory unit, the receptor and the sensory neuron, it will lessen the activation of the higher center. So the higher center can rest. Imagine if there are no adapting receptors. The higher center is always stimulated by activity of the different sensory units present in the body. So we cannot concentrate. Okay? So when they undergo adaptation, they stop the firing of action potentials. We allow the brain to rest. And we can concentrate on new stimuli that might again affect the body. Okay? And what are the requirements for the receptors to adapt? So the sensory receptor capable of adaptation, for them to adapt, the sensory receptor must be exposed to their adequate stimulus. And the stimulus intensity should be constant, non-changing. Continuous exposure, non-changing stimulus intensity. And the intensity should be light to moderate intensity for the adapting receptor to eventually undergo adaptation. Okay? Kailangan na constant exposure o continuous exposure, non-changing yung stimulus intensity, constant. And the intensity should be low to moderate. If the receptor is capable of adaptation but exposed to a very high stimulus intensity, they will not adapt even if they're capable of adaptation. So, ang good example yan, yung mga touch receptor, pressure receptors. Kaya di mapasin yan. Affected by wearing underwears. Di ba, are you wearing underwears now? Di ba, hindi mo na maramdaman. You cannot feel anymore you're wearing one. Nag-adapt na yung mga pressure receptors or touch receptors affected by the said wearing of the underwear. So if the underwear is just a right fit for your body, we can see adaptation. Nag-stop yung firing ng affected receptors. But if you are wearing a tight-fitting underwear, the whole day you will know you are wearing one. Okay? Kasi greater na yung intensity affecting the said past adapting receptors. So if they will not undergo adaptation, so the whole day a person will know he or she is wearing a tight-fitting underwear. Even in wearing shoes. Pag exact ang fit, eventually you will observe adaptation. But if it is a tight-fitting shoe, the whole day you know you are wearing one. They will not adapt. Okay? What about the non-adapting? Ano importance naman? Why is it that we have such receptors not capable of adaptation? This is for protection. Because the non-adapting receptors are mostly the pain receptors. O yung pain receptors, di ba? Okay, they are activated, as mentioned, if there is tissue damage. So we are trying to prevent aggravation of tissue injuries. So once exposed to these different stimuli that can affect pain receptors, di ba ang normal response natin, normal response of a person being exposed to a painful condition, it is to remove the one causing pain or move away from the said stimulus causing pain to prevent aggravation ng tissue damage. So protection yan. Kaya yung pain receptors, they are continuously firing action potentials. And when you are always having the said sensation, you rest the body part having or suffering from pain. Kaya for protection yan. Yung mga non-adapting receptors. Okay? Tapos ang na-observe pa, another condition na very similar to adaptation, yung habituation. Ang major difference lang, pag habituation, the change is seen in the brain. Yung brain will stop attending or concentrating on the said stimuli constantly present in the environment. Yung brain na nag-change ng activity. Pag sensory adaptation, the structure ng body reacting to the said stimulus constantly affecting the body, it's the sensory receptors. Di ba yung receptors ang nagiging less responsive and eventually they stop the firing of action potentials. Okay? Together with the sensory units or the sensory neurons. Pag habituation, it's the higher center. Okay? Nasasanay ka na. You get accustomed to the said constant appearing or continuously present stimulus in the environment. Na-ignore mo na siya. Okay? So, in a major difference between habituation and sensory adaptation. You have questions up to this point? Hello? Ayaw sumagot. May tanong kayo? Hello? Wala. So, break. Break. Bakit? Anong tanong? Hello?
Wala pong tanong.
Akala ko meron. Okay? So, if there are no questions, let's have a break. Mga 10 minutes. Okay? Ang next topic natin, general senses. Okay? Thank you. 10-minute break muna.